What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It has been a while since I've posted, but I have good reasons. I was on a 2-week PTO period, so I've just been treating myself and enjoying not really posting anything or even thinking about anything hospital or respiratory related. Currently making homemade burgers, so if you're wondering what I'm doing while I'm recording, that's what I'm doing. But this video, we got to talk about something that has been on my feed for quite some time now. I'm sure you guys all have seen it too, whether if you watch the news on YouTube or if you watch the news, whatever, wherever. But there's a lot of rioting going on. Not rioting, strikes are going on at hospitals, and it's mostly nurses. And I guess it's going on in where? I've seen New York, California, and somewhere else I can't remember. But the whole idea is, they're not getting paid enough for what they're worth. And, this is genuine, this is something we got to talk about. We all don't get paid the same wherever we live. That's why it's important whenever you do graduate and, or if you just want to relocate somewhere, you got to choose like your cost of living, how much they're going to pay you, what's the average range. You just got to look on Google and things in that nature. But I was looking, and I guess also too, the reason that these nurses are rioting is because, there's not necessarily like a safety protocol or like some type of backing by the hospital if something were to happen to the nurses or anybody really. It's not just nurses that are rioting or going on strike that I've noticed. I've seen respiratory therapists go on strike. I've seen phlebotomists go on strike. Even CT technicians. But in these places they make pretty good money. In New York, I saw that they were making before I get to that, in New York, I guess if you're a staffed employee, if you're a nurse, I saw that you were making at least like 60 or 80, depending on where it's at, what hospital, blah, blah, blah. But here's the kicker. With all this going on, hospitals don't necessarily have the workers because everybody's going on strike. So what are the hospitals doing? The hospitals are hiring travelers, and they're paying the travelers, and this is not just nurses, they're paying travelers like COVID money. I'm talking about like 8,000 to 12, no, 8,000 to 15,000 a week just to do what you're doing now, just regularly. Like if you're an RT and you manage ventilators, you give aerosol treatments, you do BiPAPs, you do, you know what we do. You're getting paid buku money per week. And the idea of the hospital is, since all of our nurses are on strike, let's go ahead and hire travelers and pay them $15,000 until our regular nurses come back, and we can pay them back 50 and 60 again. And it's just like, what type of backwards mentality is that? And honestly, it's truly messed up. It is. Because hospitals can definitely pay all their healthcare workers a livable wage. But it's just, they just choose not to. And it honestly shouldn't be like that. And they don't care. That's just how it is. We're all just numbers, essentially. And I've been saying this for a very long time now, especially for me. I know I'm basically essentially a new RT, but I've been in the field for like 4 years now, and I've seen things I've done things to where I feel like personally I should be getting paid more than my co-worker counterparts. I'm not going to tell you what facility I do work at, but it's questionable why they hire the people that they do hire. I work with someone who will essentially not even go up to the patient, and they will literally scan a medication and not even give it to them. And I've noticed this because, like, when I first started, I was like, how are they done so fast? I didn't even see them move. Oh, whatever. And then over time, whenever I got my routine down on however I do my treatments or whatever, because every respiratory is different. Every respiratory therapist is different. And, when I got my routine down, one of the nurses was like, hey, Royale, I find it kind of questionable that, this particular RT said that they're getting vitals and they gave this treatment, but I never see them. And low key, they're not wrong. And it's been reported before, but nothing happens. These hospitals genuinely do not care unless it comes to, privacy for the patient. But other than that, they just be hiring anybody lately that I've noticed. And it's awful. I'm seeing CNAs vaping behind the nurses station. What else have I seen? I've seen nurses give too much fluid to a patient to where they just can't breathe. They got so much fluid in their body. There's actually way too many nurses who are, I guess, a little bit older, but depending on the circumstances of the economy, that's understandable. But you have older nurses who, and when I mean older, I mean by age, not necessarily experience, but you have nurses who are like 70 something years old, and they're trying to convince me a Duoneb can fix fluid overload, CHF. There's such a barrier in education. My hospital just be hiring anybody. And it's sad that it's like that. But going back to hospitals and how they don't really care for their actual employees. So my hospital was bought out by a bigger hospital because I guess we don't know how to manage our money. And, we used to get 4% raises, which is still crap, by the way. And now we get 3% raises. And if you're doing the math, that's only $1 raise every year. And that does not help anybody in anybody's case. Especially the way the market is now. Excuse me, I'm trying to let this off. But that does not help anybody's case to begin with. Because you got people who are working multiple jobs as therapists or even nurses that are trying to make it. And I'm one of those people to where I'm working 2 jobs. I got my rental income going, but you kind of still need more if you want to prepare for what's to come with increasing inflation. I still got this house to pay off, property taxes increasing, insurance increasing, things in that nature. And it's tough. If you have these hospitals, and I get it, and I'm not cracking down on any type of doctors, physicians, whatever. They went to school for X amount of years, they deserve that money. That's how it is. But if you're hiring doctors who are making $300K or even more a year, depending on if they're a specialty or not, they're making bank. They're bringing home about 16 to 20K a check. They're fine. They're doing quite well. I don't know if I'm doing the numbers with that correctly. I'm just talking at that point. But my point is the hospitals can be a little bit more generous with the amount of wage increases that they can actually give us. It's just, it's sickening. People should not be living like this. It was not like this when I was growing up. And I was born in 95. And I remember asking my mother, and I was like, how much was rent back in the day? And she was telling me her and my father, the rent was like $300 to $500. And we're gonna go over here. And they were just living the dream, you know? So these hospitals, man, they could definitely pay us a little bit more. But it's hard nowadays because, like I said, inflation. But hospitals definitely can pay us more because they're paying these doctors buku money. It's insane. It really is. But from my perspective, with all the strikes going on, I'd say it sounds selfish. It is. But honestly, we all need money. We really do. Being a staffed therapist has definitely opened my eyes to seeing what I like and don't like being a staff therapist. And I'm sure there's pros to cons to being a traveler. Realistically, I'm not talking about like personal things. I'm talking about maybe like financial challenges or some type of obstacle, other than like family and things like that. But I mean, if I was in the situation now to where, well, I honestly plan to be a traveler pretty soon. I don't know what state yet. I'm always researching daily, but it's something that genuinely makes sense compared to being a staff therapist. Now, I know the benefits of being staff therapists are like you get PTO, you get benefits like 401k, health, dental, blah, 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 whatever. And I know the traveler stuff does that too. But, you know, I was hired at a time to where I can earn a lot of PTO, obviously, because I was hired prior to a certain date. And it just works out for me to stay. I'm still trying to balance to see if I can stay or go PRN to be an actual traveler. But as of now, it just makes sense for me to, you know, just kind of go with the flow. But like I said, I'm still looking for, you know, an actual place to start traveling because that's where the money's at. If I was a nurse personally or any type of traveler, whatever, I personally would take advantage of the stupidity of the hospitals. Because like I said, they're giving out COVID money. I remember when I was in school, I had therapists talk about, I bought a jacuzzi, I bought 3 cars, they're all paid off. And I'm just like, man, if I just had one opportunity to go to do and get, you know, COVID money like how it was back in the day, I would take advantage of it. I'm not doing it now because I'm not saying I'm comfortable, but it's just like I guess you could say I have multiple sources of income already. But again, the traveling thing is definitely in the ball field. It's something that's gonna happen. It just makes sense to do it that way. And give me a second. And you know, the message that the nurses are trying to do, it's good intentions. I get it, but if you have hospitals paying $15K, it doesn't help that the travelers are doing that, you know? And you can't necessarily win that because we all need money. We do. We live in a time where we all need money. We cannot deny that. And with that being said, I don't want you guys to think like, oh, well, you're just greedy. You all you think about is money. You don't care about the... No, I do care about the patients because, again, hospitals be hiring anybody. They hire anybody, I promise you. I'm sure at the beginning of the video you heard me say, oh, they're hiring this person doesn't do this. I've seen CNAs vape. I've seen nurses and CNAs smell like marijuana after they're coming from their break. It's just like whatever. Just pay me more money. With that being said, that's the update. But hospitals definitely are not what they used to be. And I work with an older respiratory therapist. He's always saying that. he's always saying, hospitals just, they charge the patient so much. They want me to do so much on this patient, and everything, every little thing I do, whether it's like ABG, whether it's BiPAP, high flow, it costs a lot of money, especially ventilators. And with that being said, I just want to put you guys into perspective of, I guess, my view of what's going on with these hospitals and why the nurses are striking. But tell me, guys, what you guys think. I'll stay in the loop with what's going on, obviously. I'm still working. I'm getting ready to go to work now. I don't even know what time it is. It's 3-something. But, yeah, I'll let you guys know what's going on. I'm still making videos. I still got plenty of ideas to make videos. It's just the energy of working night shift. This is day 4 for me. And then 2 days off. So, with that being said, thank you guys. I love you guys. I'll see you guys in the next video. Please like, sub, and comment. I really appreciate that things. It helps the YouTube algorithm. And with that being said, bye-bye.